Have you ever wondered how one small kingdom on the Iberian Peninsula built one of the largest empires in world history? It's a story of ambition, discovery, and immense power that stretched across the globe. Today, we're diving into the epic rise and fall of the Spanish Empire. Our story begins in the late 15th century. Picture this: the Iberian Peninsula is a patchwork of kingdoms, but two are about to change everything. In 1469, Isabella I of Castile and Ferdinand II of Aragon get married. This union doesn't technically create a single country called Spain just yet, but it's the crucial first step. Their combined power allows them to complete the Reconquista, the centuries-long effort to retake the peninsula from Moorish rule. In 1492, they capture Granada, the last Muslim stronghold. This year is a massive turning point, not just for Spain, but for the entire world. Because in that same year, 1492, Isabella and Ferdinand decide to fund an ambitious Italian sailor named Christopher Columbus. His plan: to find a westward sea route to the rich spice markets of Asia. We all know how that turned out. Instead of Asia, Columbus stumbles upon the Americas, a new world teeming with resources and civilizations completely unknown to Europeans. This accidental discovery opens the floodgates for Spanish exploration and conquest. The early 16th century saw the arrival of the conquistadors. These were soldiers, explorers, and adventurers who set out for the Americas in search of gold, glory, and God. Hernán, with just a small force, masterfully played on political divisions within the Aztec Empire, and by 1521, he had conquered its mighty capital, Tenochtitlan. A decade later, Francisco Pizarro did something similar, toppling the vast Inca Empire in the Andes with even fewer men. These conquests were brutal and devastating for the indigenous populations, who were not only outmatched by Spanish steel and horses, but were also ravaged by European diseases like smallpox, to which they had no immunity. With these vast territories under their control, Spain's wealth exploded. Silver and gold poured in from mines like Potosi in modern-day Bolivia and Zacatecas in Mexico. This immense fortune funded Spain's armies, turning it into the dominant power in Europe. The Spanish Habsburg monarchs, like Charles V and his son Philip II, ruled over an empire so vast that it was famously called the Empire on which the sun never sets. It included most of South and Central America, parts of North America like Florida and the Southwest, numerous Caribbean islands, the Philippines and Asia, and territories across Europe, from the Netherlands to parts of Italy. Philip II's reign in the late 16th century is often considered the peak of Spanish power. He ruled from the magnificent El Escorial Palace near Madrid, micromanaging his global empire. He was a devout Catholic and saw himself as the defender of the faith against the Protestant Reformation sweeping through Europe and the Ottoman Empire in the Mediterranean. This led to constant warfare. He fought the Ottomans at the famous naval Battle of Lepanto in 1571, a major victory for the Christian alliance. However, his attempt to invade Protestant England with the Invincible Armada in 1588 ended in a disastrous failure, a sign that Spanish naval supremacy was not untouchable. Life in the Spanish colonies was a complex social pyramid. At the top were the Peninsulares, people born in Spain. Below them were the Creoles, people of pure Spanish descent born in the colonies. Further down were the mestizos, of mixed European and indigenous ancestry, followed by indigenous peoples and enslaved Africans, who were brought over in vast numbers to work on plantations and in mines. This rigid social structure, the casta system, created deep-seated tensions that would eventually boil over. The Catholic Church played a huge role, converting millions to Christianity and running schools and missions, but also enforcing religious orthodoxy through the Inquisition. A vibrant new culture emerged, blending Spanish, indigenous, and African traditions in food, music, art, and language, which still defines Latin America today. But even the mightiest empires faced decline. By the 17th century, the cracks in the Spanish Empire were beginning to show. The constant wars were incredibly expensive and drained the treasury, even with all the silver from the Americas. Spain declared bankruptcy multiple times. The flow of silver also caused massive inflation across Europe, ironically hurting Spain's own economy. Other European powers, like England, France, and the Dutch Republic, were on the rise, challenging Spain's dominance on the seas and chipping away at its colonial territories. The Spanish military, once feared, suffered major defeats, like at the Battle of Rocroi in 1643, signaling a shift in the European balance of power. The Habsburg dynasty itself weakened, with a series of less effective rulers culminating in Charles II, whose death without an heir in 1700 triggered the War of the Spanish Succession. The 18th century brought a new dynasty, the Bourbons, who tried to reform and centralize the empire. They made some progress in modernizing the administration and improving the economy, but it was too little, too late. The ideas of the Enlightenment liberty, equality, and self-governance were spreading from Europe to the Americas. The success of the American Revolution and the chaos of the French Revolution provided both inspiration and opportunity. The final act began in the early 19th century, when Napoleon Bonaparte invaded Spain and placed his brother on the Spanish throne. It created a power vacuum. Across Latin America, Creoles, who had long resented their second-class status, seized the moment. Led by brilliant figures like Simon Bolivar in the north and José de San Martin in the south, a wave of independence movements swept across the continent. From Venezuela to Argentina, one by one, the colonies fought for and won their freedom. By 1825, Spain had lost almost all of its mainland American empire. All that remained were a few islands, Cuba, Puerto Rico, the Philippines, and some smaller territories. The final nail in the coffin came in 1898. The Spanish-American War, a brief but decisive conflict, saw Spain lose its last significant colonies to the rising power of the United States. The loss of Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines marked the definitive end of the Spanish Empire. From a united kingdom to a global superpower fueled by new world riches, and finally to a slow decline under the weight of war and revolution, the history of the Spanish Empire is a powerful saga. It left an incredible legacy. The Spanish language is spoken by over 500 million people today, and its cultural, religious, and architectural influence is visible across continents. It's a story that reshaped the world map and created the interconnected global society we know today. Thanks for joining us on this journey through history. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the past. See you next time.